This is an example of my radio delayed vocals preset on my voice.
And so what I'd like to do is break down kind of everything that goes into it. It's actually not just one effect, but multiple things strung together. So it's a couple of EQs with a compressor, with a delay, and also with a reverb. And this is just using the stock plugins in Ableton Live. So if you have intro or above, you should be able to download this plugin from my Gumroad, and also make your own and follow along with me and learn a lot in the process. So when you see this, the first thing that we'll see is a couple of buttons here that I'd like to go over. We have our macros, our more macro buttons, less macro buttons, snapshots, devices, and chain list. So what I'm going to do is basically show you how I made this thing from scratch. So if we start with the devices here, ordinarily what you would do is you would go to your audio effects and drag them onto your track. But in the interest of saving time, what I'm going to do is take all of these and go to my new track and copy them here by holding down the Option or Alt key. And now we can see everything we have here. We have an EQ, compressor, another EQ, a reverb, and a delay. If we take all of these and do Command or Control G, that will create an audio effect rack. So we have this new section here. And it just says audio effect rack. And when we double tap it, it removes all the individual components, individual devices from our view. It just turns this device button off. So we're going to open the chain list, and we can see on our chain, it says channel EQ and probably compressor and all these other things. I'm going to rename that by doing Command R and just calling it wet. I'm going to make a new chain as well, and I'm going to call that dry. And you can think of the chain list as its own sort of mixer. So just like we have multiple tracks with panning, on, off, solo, you can do the same thing with your chains. So we have this dry chain that has nothing. The wet chain has all the devices on it. So what's going to happen now if I press record arm on this, you're going to hear all of the wet signal, so my voice going through this whole chain, and you're going to hear it again through a dry chain. So you'll get a mix of both, which is great. It's a blend. What we can do now is we can actually take this and map it to a macro knob. So if you saw on my original radio delayed vocals, I had this blend knob. If I go here, I can also color and rename this knob to say blend. And the next thing I can do is I click this map button, and you'll see a lot of stuff changes green. You can click on something, and you then click map, and it will map to that macro knob. If you're not in the map section and you right click on the parameter, you can also map it to a macro knob as well. So either way works. And when you click this map, you'll see your macro mappings up here. And right now we have the mixer in the chain for wet and dry. And right now they're both set to -infinity and 6 decibels. And so that means whenever we turn this blend knob up, it's going to be at -infinity for both, and then at +6 for both. So for us, what I'd like to do is change this dry to be 0, and this max value for the dry to be -infinity. And so what that will do is when we have it cranked all the way up, the wet's -6, and dry is at -infinity. There, when we crank it back down, it's the reverse. So there's no wet signal when we've got blend turned to 0. which is great. Next thing we can do, I call these low frequency, high frequency. And we can color those as well, just to kind of keep them separated. Usually with parameters on the same effect, I'll keep them the same color. And we can map our low to low frequency, map our high to high frequency. And in that mapping, I want to set my max value for both of these to 0. And the reason why is because I want to create this effect that it's kind of over an intercom or a little bit distant or through a speaker, specifically like an old television radio speaker or an intercom speaker you hear at, when the principal's office is calling you. To create that effect, we need to basically cut off all the high end, cut off all the low end, and just leave mid-range. A lot of really bad speakers, or not, kind of utilitarian speakers, often just emphasize the mid-range because that's where your speech frequencies are. So that's where your sibilants, where your consonants, all of those sounds are in the 2K range. So that is why on this channel EQ, I've got 2K for the mid-range, and I've got it actually boosted 3.1 decibels. And when you put that in action, it sounds like this. It sounds very very direct, very muted, and a very specific sound. If we turn this blend all the way back, you'll see you kind of get those low ends, the bass in the voice, the high end in the voice. So it's really important to have these set up this way, because otherwise what will happen is you'll turn your low and you'll basically be boosting your lows, and I don't want to do that for this plugin. With that, we can move on to our compressor. And this threshold is what I will map to the threshold. And the reason why I have, when you go blend, it goes to +6, is because when we clamp down on this threshold, as you'll see, it'll make the volume lower. So I've got the threshold set at -30 right now. I can keep moving it down. And you'll see as soon as the more I clamp down, the less you'll hear. You can see my input is here at 12 and my output is at 48. And on the video, I'm obviously adjusting for this volume difference so you can still hear me. If we turn makeup on, that will make everything louder and we'll start distorting. So I don't turn the makeup on. You can also mess with this ratio if you want less. Really, I think I would do really no more than a kind of 10-to-1 ratio. And so we've got our threshold knob figured out. These next ones are going to be on our delay. So we've got a delay amount, feedback, and a division. And then after that, we'll do reverb. So since these are all for the delay, I'm going to map these all to green macro knobs, and we're going to move over. After the compressor, I have a Radio 40s preset, hence the name Radio Delayed Vocals. This has a lot of high cutout and some low cutout as well, just to kind of further, no matter what happens, you're going to get a distorted, or not distorted, but a, cut low, cut high sort of effect. So if we turn the reverb on, we can map our dry wet knob to our reverb macro. We can turn the delay on. These numbers here are 16ths. So we'll map these to division. So if you want a 1/16 delay, it'll be in the 1, 2/16 will be 2, 3, 4, etc. Our feedback we can map to our feedback knob. And our dry wet we can map to the delay knob. And then we should have everything mapped. We can see first our reverb, which I like to make red. Over here is moving when we move this one. So it's at 100% now, and it's down to 0, which is great. We go to our delay, we'll see a few things. We'll see the delay adjusting the dry wet. We'll see the feedback, adjusting the feedback amount. And we'll see the division, basically cycling up these division amounts. This is where snapshots come in handy. So they call it macro variations, but I call it snapshots because that's what this icon looks like to me. It looks like a camera. And so what we can do is we can say for 1/16, this is the setting we want it at, have reverb and everything kind of more or less how we want it. We can go to new and call this 1/16. We can then move the division up to where it reaches 2. Make another new one. And this will be 2/16. And keep going that way. And so this is a really easy way to save everything you like. If you love how everything is set up on these macro knobs, you can just go and just press the play and you don't have to, know the exact number where it switches. So it's really handy for that. And that's how I made this preset. So the next thing you can do is you can click this little save button right here, and that will save it to your user library. Before you save it, I would rename it to whatever you want, or when you save it, you can also rename the file there. That's pretty much it. It will live in your user library, and you can just simply, just like you would drag a delay onto your track, you'll just drag the entire audio effect rack. So hope you like that. Like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you on the next one.